What is up, everybody? In today's video, we'll be talking about multiple severe weather events over the next few days or so into persistent heat and a huge ridge that is going to encompass much of the U.S. Let's get right into today's video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the ongoing weather right now, and what we do have is multiple severe thunderstorm warnings with a huge squall line QLCS that is currently rolling through much of Texas in Louisiana over the next few hours or so, and it's producing some isolated embedded tornadoes. This is a tornado watch, so we are seeing some isolated embedded tornadoes with this system going all the way through areas like Houston, up to Nacogdoches, all the way up to Shreveport areas. And this is due to the fact that we do have a slight risk of severe storms in effect with some moisture that is shooting up from the Gulf of Mexico and just all those Gulf areas that is really shooting up and bringing some more moisture that we are seeing. The first severe weather event we're seeing in a long time across these areas, and it's already a slight risk of severe storms in effect with some isolated tornadoes that are possible in this brown area. So if you are in these green or brown areas, be weather aware. Anywhere from this warning right here over to the east is where we're going to be seeing some severe weather with this system. In New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Alexandria, all those areas are under the gun for some severe weather potential into the tonight, into the overnight hours in this brown region in Louisiana and southern Mississippi, as this squall line could produce some embedded tornadoes. So definitely be weather aware and have a plan and be prepared, and make sure to have warnings if a tornado does impact your area overnight tonight, especially in Louisiana and southern Mississippi. Now, this severe weather is all caused by a low pressure that is currently rolling through much of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, and is going to strengthen to a 999 millibar low pressure system with this pretty big storm system that we are seeing, bringing a lot of rain to areas in Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana regions throughout the day into tonight. Here on Saturday into Sunday morning, we're going to see more and more rain across Kentucky, Tennessee, Atlanta, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, all those areas into Sunday morning. They're going to see a lot of rain, this is a pretty warm system, not very normal for early February 14th. And if you look on the southern side of that, in the portions of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, and Alabama and Florida, we are actually seeing a squall line with this moisture that we are seeing shooting up that is going to bring some severe weather with some strong winds and even some embedded tornadoes with the system. If you look at the dew points, we've got some of a surge of moisture, as you can see that kind of that moist air that is rolling through much of Florida, Louisiana, Texas regions over the next few days or so. And it's just quite the hefty amount of moisture for early February across these regions, which is resulting in the severe weather that we are seeing. Now, the instability is pretty modest, but it's enough to bring some potential for some severe weather across these areas, and that's why we are seeing this definite severe weather potential that's going to be occurring. And we'll see this severe weather potential going into the daytime hours tomorrow too. So this is going to roll through New Orleans probably about 2 in the morning Sunday with some isolated embedded tornadoes. So definitely have your warning, have your alerts in place, and it's going to roll through much of Louisiana here on the overnight hours, 10 p.m. Lake Charles probably about 9 p.m. in the next 4 hours or so. And then is kind of going to weaken, and then once we get into the daytime hours, starting into the morning hours on Sunday, we will see a resurgence of this moisture and this instability that will probably cause a threat of some isolated tornadoes into the Florida Panhandle and southern Georgia, which is what we are going to get into right now with this severe weather threat in the Florida, Georgia, and southern Georgia region, that we are going to be seeing with this. Jacksonville, Tallahassee areas are all under the gun for some potential tornadoes tomorrow with this embedded QLCS line that is currently rolling through Texas and is going to move further into portions of these areas. So if you are in Panama City, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Albany, any of those areas in the brown, do be weather aware as an isolated tornado or two is possible. It is going to be a little bit weaker in the Mobile and Pensacola as it's right before that surgence of moisture does come through, but definitely be weather aware in those regions there too. Now, not just are we seeing a storm system that's rolling through now into tomorrow, but we are also seeing some very warm and unseasonably warm temperatures across much of the central and northern U.S. with this persistent ridge across the central and eastern U.S. that probably won't go away. We might see a little bit of a dip into some cool weather here around February 21st, the weekend after the weekend right now, but then it'll come back to warmth all over again. This is some very, very unseasonably warm temperatures across much of the central, eastern, and southern U.S. It's basically feeling like spring across a lot of these areas, and it's February 14th, and it's going to be persistent for quite the long amount of time. If you look at the GFS extended, which is kind of a long-range forecast, it has this warmth kind of weakening a little bit once we can do later into February, but even into early March, it has this warmth kind of sitting over much of the central and eastern U.S. for a long, long time. We might dip back into the cold once we get into early March into portions of the East Coast, but the central, western, and eastern U.S. is just in a lot of warmth right now. That's going to continue probably for the rest of February. If you're a snow lover, this pattern is really bad, but there's nothing much else I can really do. I mean, I can't really do anything about it, but yeah, definitely some real warmth that we are seeing. The Euro definitely has that too. A lot of warmth going into March. So I don't think that winter is over, but the best snow chances are over, I think. But early March could surprise us. I'm just saying. But this warmth is looking like it's going to stay over the areas for the rest of February for a lot of the central, eastern, and southern U.S. But a lot of the western parts of the U.S. are finally seeing a cool down. It's been below average in the central and eastern U.S. and more above average in the western U.S. But that's why we are dipping more into more below average temperatures in California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho regions. And the Weather Prediction Center is definitely hitting at this big-time warmth with much above average temperatures on the 6 to 10 day outlook for much of the central and eastern U.S. The only areas seeing more below average are this area in parts of the Northeast, including Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. So they're lucky to get cooler weather there. Maybe not lucky. Maybe they don't like the cold. I want the cold because I want snow. More snow, but we've already got enough snow where I live, at least. But yeah, definitely more warmth in much of the central and southern U.S. over the next few days or so. But then they're finally seeing some relief. It's been very, very cold. So a lot of the mountain areas in California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado are finally going to see some more relief and some more cooler weather. This persistent ridge has been over the west coast of the U.S. for a long, long time, bringing much above average temperatures, and we're finally seeing this dip into more below average temperatures, especially in Washington, Montana, Oregon, California, and Nevada regions, where we're finally seeing below average temperatures. It shows that continues into the 8 to 14 day outlook, but wow, this warmth is just sitting over much of the central and southern U.S. And we're going to get into this in a second about more of the snowfall potential that we are going to be seeing in much of the mountain areas that have not been seeing much snow this season. Now, the overall pattern for snowfall is looking pretty awful across much of the central and eastern U.S. We might see a little bit of snow in the portions of North Dakota and Minnesota regions here on Wednesday, but besides that, it's just barely any snowfall in the forecast whatsoever across much of the U.S. in the next few weeks or so into March. That's why I was saying that warmth that we are seeing in the central U.S. is going to bring more rainfall systems and less snowfall systems. So one area that is going to see some active weather is the mountains. Areas like the Sierra Nevada mountains and the Rocky Mountains and the mountains in Utah are going to see more of that snowfall that we are going to be finally seeing with that weather pattern. We're going to be seeing more of that snowfall and more storm systems in much of the western part of the U.S. And we're already going to see some of it here 72 hours out on Tuesday in much of the mountains. And even again on Wednesday, we're going to be seeing much of a more consistent weather pattern. And due to this, the blend of models is showing a lot of snowfall. I mean, a ton of snowfall in parts of the western regions. Look at that. Extreme snowfall amounts in the Sierra Nevada mountains. We're looking at potentially many feet of snow in the weather forecast over the next few weeks or so in the Sierra Nevada mountains, which is going to be amazing for snowfall lovers and skiers especially. And a lot of this too in the Utah and Colorado mountains, where we're going to be seeing feet of snow potentially in the Utah and Colorado mountains over the next few weeks or so. So this is definitely going to be helpful for this awful snowpack that we are seeing in the western part of the U.S. and the drought in the western part of the U.S. And it's going to be amazing for skiers. So if you're planning a ski trip, it's going to be pretty nice in the next few weeks or so in parts of the mountains, as we're going to be seeing a lot of snowfall potential. And due to this, we're also going to be seeing a lot of rainfall, pretty rainy across parts of California with many storm systems rolling through. That's going to bring a lot of rainfall into many of the coastal areas, including San Francisco and Los Angeles over the next week or so. Now, the last thing I forgot to mention about the storm system that is occurring right now, actually, across those areas that are bringing the severe weather right now, is also going to bring a little bit of snow, not much, but a little bit of snow in the parts of the Northeast. New York City could be in for up to 2 inches of snow, maybe even 3 inches of snow in some spots, including areas like New York City and Long Island areas, Pennsylvania, maybe even an inch of snow in Boston areas that we are going to be seeing. This isn't something hugely impactful, but it's not out of the question that we do see some snowfall potential with this system. If you do look at that, we get a little bit of snowfall there across portions of New York City. It doesn't last for that long, and it's not that heavy, but it could definitely bring some really real snowfall potential in these regions. It won't be that much, but wherever accumulation does occur, we could see up to 2 inches of snowfall adding on to the accumulation. It's been very cold in the Northeast, so these areas in New York City are still having snowfall on the ground, so this will add on to that and cause some definite problems in portions of Long Island and southern New York, in portions of New Jersey. Alright, I hope everybody did enjoy today's video. Sorry for the lack of weather updates. I was at the Storm Chasers Summit last weekend. It was awesome. You should definitely go next year if you are a weather enthusiast. But we're back to normal weather updates now, so I will be posting every weekend or so. I would be posting more, but I do have school, but I will be posting every weekend or so if I can, but most of the time I will be posting every weekend. Sorry, I was a little rusty in this video. It's been a little bit since I made a weather forecast, but thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. We're definitely getting into a very warm weather pattern across much of the central U.S. Not great for snow lovers, but across the mountains of the western U.S., it's going to be great for skiers and snow lovers across those areas, and maybe an uptick in severe weather over the next few weeks or so. Thanks for watching, and bye, everybody.